Good morning guys, it's Wednesday the 15th of April 2020. So a turn of events yet again. Now today I was supposed to be pressure washing in the backyard, as you know, and I had said in the last video. However, I needed to drop up some medication from my mother-in-law. My wife Louise had asked me if I would drop off the medication for her mother. So yeah, I said I would do that, and I arrived at the mother-in-law's, and as always we drop anything on the back step, and they keep they're in the house. We just knock on the door, drop on the back step, and they collect what we've left. Now when I got there, I knocked on the door and left the medication in a carrier bag outside the back door. There was a bag with several tomato plants in there and 2 butternut squash. Now I ended up picking those up. Obviously they were a gift off my father-in-law, but I have nowhere to keep them at home, so I had no choice but to come to the allotment and get them planted basically. So what we've done is I've came up here, I've got those tomato plants put in, I've got the butternut squash put in, and I also decided that of the 7 cucumbers that I had, I'd plant 3 of those as well. So I've transplanted 3 of those, even though they're only sort of that size. But I've put them up against the back wall of the polytunnel. So I have the onions at the front, then I have the tomatoes, and then I have now the cucumbers at the back. And across the back of the polytunnel, what I'll do is I'll run strings down, or I will put some other plastic wire netting, and I will tie it to the framing of the polytunnel, and that will let the cucumbers grow up. They're climbers, they'll climb up there, but they will need tied back because of the weight of the fruit, obviously. And that's what we'll do. Now, even with the cucumbers growing up the back wall, then we've got the tomatoes in the centre, and then we've got the onions in the front. There's still sufficient light comes through that polytunnel from the sides and the top, that the plants will be fine. It's just getting maximum plants in a small growing area. So we're going to see how that pans out, guys. And then what I'll do is I'll give you a quick look round outside when I've had this cup of coffee. I also had another inquiry about the rest of the birds that I have for sale, and we're in talks. Basically I said that if he takes the rest that I have for surplus, he can have the lot for £10 each. Now they're normally 30 quid a piece or something like that, but I said if he takes the whole lot, 1, to give me the room, and 2, help him out. I said if he takes the lot and he's going to look after them, he can have them for £10 each. So we're in talks around that, guys. So that might leave me with 4 lofts entirely completely empty, which will be good news for me. That means I can start on breeding the project birds that I want to breed. I'm still not going to go silly, even though there were before empty lofts. As you know, I don't keep a lot of birds per loft. For health reasons, and one, it's much easier, it's more manageable, the birds are healthier, and that's the way I do things, guys. So yeah, that's a bit of a positive actually. Well, we'll get round to pressure washing the backyard for my wife Louise, either later today, and if not later today, then it will definitely be tomorrow, because that's my last day off, and then I'll be working from home again on the Friday, but then I'll have Saturday and Sunday again. So we'll see how that goes. Just in case you're wondering, guys, the courier services for collecting pigeons are allowed by government regulations until further advised. And basically what they do is the birds are already boxed up for when they come to collect. The birds are left in the garden in the boxes, and the courier comes and when he arrives, he just comes and collects them out of the garden, puts them in his van, and does the same at the other end. So we're not breaking any rules or regulations here, guys. We are complying with government regulations, or I wouldn't be doing it. It's as simple as that. So anyways, we'll catch you later, guys, when I've had this cup of coffee. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, guys, so I've got the coffee now. A couple of more developments. 7 of the racing pigeons, the guys, I've completed his order basically. He's sending a courier up to collect that. They are still running and still allowed to do so according to government guidelines, just in case anyone's wondering. As long as the birds are sort of left at the bottom of the garden in boxes ready for them to just pick up and put in the back of the van, they can do this, and likewise when they get the other end. So 7 of those have been selected, and the guy's sending a courier for those next week. I had another text this morning with a gentleman inquiring if I had any birds left, and I advised him that I had the entire flock of Trigonino birds that I was going to sell as a job lot cheap, and the 7 or 8 race cocks that are spare as well, that I just need to make more room basically. I could easily keep them, but I decided I want to make more room. And basically we agreed a price of £10 a bird if he takes them all. So that would be good if that pans out. So I'm in discussions with him now to see, he's going to check with the courier service to see what the cost would be to collect those birds. So potentially if he does go ahead and purchase them birds, that's me completely cleaned out in 4 lofts. That will leave 4 empty lofts basically, and to be honest, as I said, there's not a lot in each of the lofts. They're all spread out purposely so that there's no health issues, so that there isn't a mass amount of birds scattered over those 4 lofts, but if they all go, that's brilliant. It gives me 4 empty sheds. Again, I won't be overbreeding. If I do pair the birds up, it'll just be for the selected pairs I want, and perhaps just a few surplus ones that can be sold on. So that's great, guys. That just helps to pay for my corn. That's all it does. I don't make any money out of this at all. In fact, oftentimes I'm still out of pocket, but it's a hobby I've had since I was 7 years old, and I enjoy the hobby immensely. And if I'm helping the fancy by producing birds that they require as well, then that's great. It's a win-win situation as far as I'm concerned. So also what I decided to do, it was rather warm in that greenhouse today, even with one of the top windows still missing out on one of the doors. I've decided to take a pane out at the lower, down at the bottom of the door, on the opposite side, so you get an airflow up and through the polytunnel. Now, I know the weather's set to turn a bit cooler at the weekend, but we're in April now, guys. I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed, and I'm going to leave that airflow through the polytunnel, and I'm sure it will help the plants. So yeah, that's what I've done, and I will leave it out. If it turns horrendous at some point, I'll need to get back up and put that window temporarily back in again. But there is a netting behind where the window is. The doors are completely netted, so removing that board doesn't let anything else into the greenhouse, or into the polytunnel rather, but it does let the air flow through. So yeah, that can only be a benefit as far as I'm concerned. So that's another job that I've done. So I'm just going to have this cup of coffee, and then I will give you a look around, guys. Catch you later, bye. Hey guys, so I'm just going to give you a look around at what I've done here. As you can see, this door is made up in sections, and we put that piece of plastic on the top when we had all the rain pouring in there, and I've left that one there, and I've left the middle section as well. But I've taken out this bottom one here, and basically, if I can get close enough, you'll be able to see there is some netting on there. It's a very fine mesh. Basically, that will let the air blow through there, and it keeps the majority of the rain out if it does start to drive any rain down there. So I'm hoping that the weather doesn't turn too drastically bad, and that we can just leave this now with the air flowing through here, and let it do its job as opposed. I'll give you a quick look inside now, guys, and show you what I've actually done this morning since I came up. So that's where the big mama tomato had died, and as you can see, we cleaned out that. We cleaned out the plant, we cleaned out a big area around the plant and got all the compost out of there, and I've transplanted another tomato plant. Now I don't know what breed of plant these are. I need to ring the father-in-law at some point to ask him what, there was no labels with these ones. They do look like the Shirleys, but I'm not 100%, so we'll get some clarification on that. And then moving on, as you can see, up against the wall of the greenhouse, I've planted one of the little cucumbers there. And then we have more. These are the tomato plants that were in, they're really established now. And the next one is also one that was planted earlier. These are the Shirleys, they're well established. And some of these new plants that he gave me is actually further on than these ones. Now they are looking a little bit droopy, but they've only just been transplanted and watered in, guys, so they're obviously going to take a little while to recover. That's another one there, yet another one there, another one here, and then we have the big mama at the end there, which survived and is now thriving. We have a butternut squash at the end on this bed, and likewise we put the other one on this side on the end of this bed. And then of course I have another cucumber there, again up against the wall, and there's one in the centre here as well. So what we've got here, guys, is we've got the we have the onions along the front edge, followed by the tomatoes down the centre, the butternut squash in that corner because I have some wooden posts that I can tie it to give it support at a later date, and then I have the cucumbers on the back wall. And like I said, what I'll do is I'll run strings across this frame in here all the way down the polytunnel. Either that, or we'll put some wire, some of that plastic mesh across the back there, right down there, and we'll tie it to this frame here, and then the cucumbers will grow up that, and I'll be able to tie them to the frame, to the plastic to take the weight, and that should support them. So that's the intentions. How it pans out, guys, is another kettle of fish. Another quick look at the strawberries. Basically we're leaving these to just dry right back now, guys, and see what happens, see if we do actually start to show any sign of life. If not, we'll have to purchase some ones that's already grown or partly grown and go from there. Again, likewise, I think I've been over watering these, to be honest with you guys. We're going to leave them to dry out now and see what happens. Obviously the cabbage I planted yesterday, there's no sign on that, but all the other stuff, the lettuce and the spicy leaves and the mustards and whatever, they're all coming along fine. The lettuce in the background, really thriving. And then as I said, we've taken 3 of those cucumber plants and got them in the bed. That leaves 4 there. They're a backup just in case these 3 should die on me or whatever. Still no sign on chilies or the peppers, but yeah, I never was any good at growing those guys. But the plum tomatoes, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those out of the 8 have came through. So we'll probably take 1 or 2 of the healthier ones at a later stage and pop them in this bed here and see how it goes. I know I put those money makers in there in one of these pots here now, but I'm not so sure I'm going to need them with the amount of tomato plants I've got off the father-in-law now. So we're just going to see how it goes, guys. And of course the front one is just the turnips that I planted yesterday, the beetroots and the sweet peas, or rather the peas, garden peas as some people call them. And as I say, that's the other butternut squash, guys. Now I've never ever grew butternut squash, so any tips on that would be handy. I'm led to believe they actually sort of spread themselves over the ground, but any ideas or tips on how you protect the fruit, the butternut squash, once it starts to fruit? Probably putting a piece of plastic underneath the fruit or something like that. Can you tie them up? Will the plant take the weight? I don't know. If anybody's done this in the past, please leave some comments in the sections below. That would be really, really good. Anyways, guys, that's just another quick look round, and as you can see, this bed's all nicely planted out now. The only other thing that may go in here at a later date is I might, between the tomato plants, put 2 or 3 lettuce or sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 lettuce, depending on the spaces between them. Two to 4 lettuces between these tomato plants. And like I said, this is just trying to maximise the amount of produce in as small an area as possible. And it is an experiment. I've never done it like this before, so this will be a good experiment, and we'll let you see how we get on through the year, guys. Thank you. Catch you later. Bye. Hi again, guys. So I'm back in the shed now. After I'd sorted out in the polytunnel there, I've been in the sheds now and I've sorted out the 7 birds for the order for the first gentleman and got them in a section on their own. And I've been and sorted through the spare cock birds that I have, which I'm keeping and which are going. And they're in a section on their own now. And I've also sorted the group of Trigonino Medinas, the little Italian flying breed as well. I've got them in one section and I've photographed those up, and I'm just waiting a response from the guy who's interested in those, so we'll see what happens. Anyways, guys, it's half past 2 now, so I'm just finishing this cup of coffee that I'm having here, and then as soon as I've done that, I'm heading on, down home. I've had enough for today, and basically got a lot done in a short space of time, so yeah, that's all good. So thanks for watching again, guys, and we'll catch you in the next video. Stay safe. Okay, guys, just a quick update. Thursday the 16th of April, so as I said, we finally got the yard pressure washed. It's still drying off at the moment, but yeah. So that's another good job. That's all we did do today. Just a bit of a leisurely day today after doing this, and that's it. Catch you later. Bye.